Welcome back into another episode of Lynx Unleashed, the official podcast of the Minnesota Lynx. Wendell Epps here with Dorka, Juhász. Dorka, we finally got you here on the podcast. Thank you so much for hopping on.
Yes, thanks for having me. I've been excited to get here and just be a present and kind of see what's this all about. So I'm super excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, we got a lot to get into today. Obviously, your story and your path to the WNBA is absolutely remarkable. Let's go back to your early life. Take us to your childhood back in Hungary. Talk about how you grew up and just ultimately how did you discover a love for basketball?
Yeah, I mean, since I can think that I know myself, like I always loved basketball. Obviously, my mom was a professional basketball. She was big time in Hungary, played for national team. So I had a great person, a great role model to look up to. So I remember, like, since I was a kid, like, I had basketball always around me. I wasn't able to actually, like, watch her play in person. But, like, we had these little, like, cassettes. I don't know how you call those things. And so, like, I was always asking my mom, like, can you put it on? I want to watch your game. And she always took me to, like, where we are from, it's like a basketball city. My mom, when she was always playing in my hometown, they won championships, so like the whole city loved women's basketball. And even during that time when my mom retired, like it was still a pretty big deal. So like I always went to watch those teams play with her, on the sidelines. But I was always in basketball world, and so I think that definitely like was a great influence on me to see how much like even my hometown like appreciates women's basketball. Like men's basketball, there was a men's basketball team, but it was all about women's basketball. And just seeing like the pictures, the videos whenever my mom and her team like won the Hungarian championship, and like on the main square in the city, like it was like thousands of people. Wow. And that was like the first time that I actually saw, I was like, wow, like, women's basketball is so loved here. And I wanted to be a part of it. So that's kind of how I think started like getting into basketball. And obviously just in the beginning, I was just like having fun as a little kid, like doing cartwheels on the court. Like I was just enjoying it. But maybe I was like, I would say like around 10 when I had like this switch that I'm like, I'm going to be a professional.
I want to go all the way here.
I'm going to be a professional basketball player, because I always like enjoyed, like I was going to I was pretty good, but like I didn't really realize it until like I got to like the 10, 11, 12, like, my mom and her friends, everybody was saying like, oh, this kid is going to be good. But I was just like, enjoying, like being around my friends, my girlfriends, everything. Yeah. So, and then, I started to, like, I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I'm pretty good at it. So then after that, I was like, hey, I want to be a professional basketballer. I want to be like my mom. I want to play for a national team. And I just started to set those little goals, and then eventually more and more and bigger goals. So that's definitely how I started it.
It seemed like you just had a really consistent mindset, and obviously, I mean, having your mother, being able to watch that being your biggest influence, that's got to be special, right? I mean, just being able, and it's amazing to see that women's basketball was so popular out there. Now, were you able to watch any NBA or WNBA back over in Hungary? Was that something you were able to do? Did you have any favorite players growing up?
It wasn't as easy, because obviously, like with the time difference, and also just the Hungarian sports network that weren't really like streaming much, even like the NBA, but the WNBA not at all. So like I remember like I wasn't really aware much of like the WNBA. Like I always had like, oh, like we had players in Hungary that played in the WNBA. We had like, I watched like EuroLeague, I watched Diana Taurasi when she was still, playing in Europe. And like, that's how I got to know those players, not through WNBA. And then obviously like the college and everything, then I started doing my research. And I was like, and then I got into more in the WNBA, but it was never, I guess, it was just such a crazy dream for me to be like I'm going to be there one day. I had those dreams. And I remember when I was like maybe like 15, 16, and I was like, started to think about it, like I want to get there. Like I want to be a Hungarian playing in the WNBA. But at that time, it felt like so crazy. I'm like, oh my God, it's just such a long journey that I will need to take, to get there. Because obviously it's different than being in America.
Exactly.
Going to high school, going to college, like people see you. WNBA coaches see you. And I was like, I'm just literally in a small town, a Hungarian girl. Like I don't have, eyes on me. I don't know. Like I'm like, how am I going to get there? So making that decision to come to college obviously was like something I was like, okay, like I have a chance. You know, I've given an opportunity to see like, first of all, how good I can be in college, and then how it's gonna translate. But also like, that's an opportunity for me. Right. But I remember just being a kid, and I was like, it's just a wild dream that I was like, but I knew I'm gonna make it. I just like, I wasn't sure how my journey is gonna look like, because I knew it's gonna be so different than everybody else's. And it had to be like little steps, like obviously with a lot of setbacks with injuries and everything, but I had this plan, and I was like, I'm just gonna do whatever it takes to get there. But I had no idea how it's gonna be. So I think just seeing like my mom and the success of women's basketball, I think that definitely helped a lot for me to be like having those big goals for me. Because honestly, if I put myself, you know, in other girls, like other Hungarian girls, like in their shoes, like it's so hard to, you know, be visible, to have those dreams and be like, I can do it, like, you know, because it's hard. Like in Europe, like there's not a lot of people that are watching you, unless you play like, you know, at EuroLeague top teams, and maybe, you know, there's some scouts. But it's nice to see though that there's more and more Europeans coming in the WNBA and being successful. So hopefully that's gonna keep trending, because there's a lot of talent in Europe.
There definitely is, and you're part of that first wave. So I know it's got to feel really special. You mentioned, of course, coming to America, playing college, some time there at Ohio State, then you make the decision to go over to UConn, and literally the most storied program you can think of in college women's basketball. Just talk about those final years at UConn. I mean, obviously that was when you were making your final push, and when you got the recognition that ultimately led you to getting drafted into the WNBA. Obviously, Nafisa Collier played there as well. Just talk about the impact of playing there and what it did for you for your entire basketball career.
Yeah, I mean, it made me pro ready. You know, whenever I was at Ohio State and I decided to transfer, I had one goal in mind, and that was like, I'm gonna, you know, either go professional or I'm gonna go to a team that's gonna get me to that next level to be pro ready. And obviously, whenever I got the call from Coach Ariema, I was like, oh my God, like honestly, like I had like a lot of great like offers on the table, but like I never actually put myself into that, like, oh, maybe it's gonna be UConn, because obviously, you know, growing up, everything, like you see all these great players coming out, and it kind of takes me back to like, okay, I'm, you know, just a Hungarian girl, like why would that be UConn? And then I got the call from Coach Ariema, and I just remember I was like, I knew that's gonna be the spot for me. You know, I remember having a long conversation, like like more than an hour with him, just talking about like, you know, what he can do for me, what I can do for the team. And you know, I love that he told me, he's like, I can't promise you like that you're gonna play how many minutes you're gonna play, but I can promise you that we need you, and I'm gonna make you a pro, and you have the talent, and you just gotta believe in it. But there's gonna be an opportunity for you to come in here and be a leader for your senior and you know the 5th year. But he's like, I can't promise you minutes, and I was like, that was the realest thing, you know, because obviously when you're recruiting. You're in the recruiting process, a lot of coaches are like, oh, you're going to be a starter, you're going to this and that, we're going to give you this. But he was like, he was super real about it. And all I had to hear is like, you're going to have the opportunity. It's yours to take, and I'm going to get you ready. Like, well, you're going to train hard. Every practice here is super tough, and we're going to challenge you mentally and physically. And I was challenged for sure. But that's all I needed. I just needed that opportunity. So I kind of knew. I was like, this is the place. And obviously all the amazing players that came in front of me, like, I was like, well, you know, they're all in the W, they're pro ready. So I was like, that's a good sign. So it was just an awesome experience. That 2 years, like just being a part of a historic, you know, college team with a great coach and the teammates, like it was just such a great experience. And obviously it wasn't easy because we went through like this injury bug, like, you know, we had so many injuries, like a lot of setbacks, and ultimately the goal was to win, obviously, the NCAA championship. But my first year there, obviously, I broke my wrist before the Final Four, so it was just like, oh, dang, another thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like so close and worked so hard to be in that top shape, and I was like, oh. But that's part of the plan, you know? I think that really was that setback, because it was really tough. Like, I got to be honest, like they told me, like, you might not be able to use your left hand the same way. So obviously I was scared at that point, but you know, I worked so hard that summer. Like I remember like before my last year, just the whole summer I was staying in America, just working on it, like doing rehab, just making sure that mobility comes back, and it came back. So I was like, that last year, I'm ready to go, you know, this is the last year. I'm one step closer to obviously winning an NCAA championship, but also one step closer to the WNBA and having those dreams. And I mean, I'm definitely so grateful for the opportunity because they prepared me. Like, I remember coming here, just being drafted, and I was like in training camp, but I was like, I've been through this I've been challenged every single day. And, you know, obviously having Fee here, it's amazing because she went through the same thing. So talking to her and like seeing how she translated into WNBA, and then also like to just the system of like, you know, the Lynx and Coach Cheryl and everything, that was just a great sign. So whenever I got drafted, I was like, okay, she did it. She came from there. So I was like, everything is set for me. I just have to work and learn, and I'll be good.
Seemed like a natural transition. And I mean, look at all the great stories you mentioned there, your time in UConn, like a lot of adversity you faced, but that helped you prepare for the pros. And sometimes, like you said, in college, you get promised a lot of stuff and people will jump on that opportunity, or rightfully so. You can't blame them for wanting more minutes or a bigger role, but you got tested. And I feel like that helped you, made you stronger. And that's really an incredible story. Now, here you are in the WNBA playing with the Minnesota Lynx. And kind of take me back to draft night. You had mentioned your first training camp. You didn't feel that nervous. You know, you felt comfortable, you know, which is impressive as a rookie. But obviously, still, I'm sure there had to be some butterflies coming to the W and coming to Minnesota. What were some of your first impressions when you found out you were coming here, especially to, you know, a Lynx franchise that had been a storied one?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely nervous.
Yeah,
Let's not make it. I was not nervous
yeah.
because obviously it's a new situation. But just going back to the draft, like I remember, obviously, like our season ended like not how we wanted to, but and then you have that in between time of like talking to teams and kind of figuring out, but like you have no idea where you're gonna go.
Exactly.
But kind of having these interviews, as you say, like, you know, and I remember talking to, you know, Minnesota, and I was like, okay, like that feels like, I don't know if it, like they feel it, but it felt like natural. And I was like, whatever, like obviously I've been following them for the past years while I was in college. It was easier to watch games and everything. But I was like, okay, like the style of play, like it's very similar to UConn. And I was like, I just felt like a natural, like kind of connection to Minnesota, like even not knowing that I'm going to get drafted there. But I was like, Minnesota was definitely on the top of my list. It's like, obviously I don't have a choice where I'm going, but I was like, I can you know, I think I can imagine myself like in their system because it's just such similar to, you know, what we did at UConn, just the free flow, the passing, like, you know, the fundamental basketball plays. And so I remember talking to them, and I had like a great talk with them, and just being at the draft night, you know, like it's like so stressful because you're sitting there waiting, and there's these mock drafts, and it's like, like you're gonna be first round, second round. So I was like, you know what? I was there with my agent, my Hungarian agent, and then I had obviously Coach Ariemo and my assistant coach, Coach Daly, in there. So like they were all on my table. So I was like, I'm good. Wherever I'm gonna end up, like I'm gonna be good. I'm prepared for this. And you know, they were talking to me the whole night. And you know, just as the picks go by, obviously I was expected a little bit earlier. I had to wait a little bit more, but you know, I really cared about the fit. I really wasn't trying to be like, oh, I have to be first round. Like I was just so grateful to be here, first of all, because it was a lot of work to get there, and you know, just put my name out there in America, especially as a European player. It's pretty tough to get like the same time of exposure in college and in the W, like just being foreigner, I think. So I was like, I worked so hard to be here. So I was like, wherever I like being picked, it's just, I hope it's the good fit. And then obviously I heard Minnesota and my name.
With the 16th pick in the 2023 WNBA draft, the Minnesota Lynx select Dorka, Juhász, University of Connecticut.
So I was just, at this point, I was like my mindset shifted. I was like, this is my new home. Like, let's get to work. I was so excited. I remember I was like, I didn't even want to celebrate and like, you know, like whatever. I was like, I want to go to Minnesota.
I want to go to Minnesota right now.
I want to go to Minnesota. And, you know, talking to Diamond, like, they were actually amazing because they flew us out the next day. So we got to experience a little bit of, like, just the love of the fans. And, you know, I think Minnesota was the only team that did that. So I think that was super special. Like, they show how much they cared about us. So I was like, oh, this is exciting. Like, that's going to be my new home. And, like, you know, like, they showed us the love. So, yeah, and then training camp. And then training camp came. I was definitely nervous. I definitely had butterflies because obviously, like, it's tough. You got to make a spot. And honestly, you know, the expectations for myself was to just leave it on the floor. Like, I had no, like, I guess, privilege, just being a second-round draft pick. Like, I've seen a lot of players, obviously, being drafted first round, not making the team, second round, not making the team. So I didn't really put much expectations for myself because of that. Obviously, I knew what I'm capable of doing. I know, like, what I can bring to the table and stuff like that. And that's what I did every single day in training camp. I remember I was like, hey, this is the type of player. This is how I can impact the game. I'm going to bring that every single day. And it worked out. I guess, it was appreciated. And yeah, and then I was like, okay, I made the team.
You made the team. You played a lot your rookie season.
It was definitely special because I did. Obviously, it was like far more than like what I expected. I was just like, it's always like the little steps, like day by day. I was looking at it, but then looking back at my first year, like it was absolutely amazing. Like just having the trust and gaining the experience. Because let's be honest, not many rookies like get this experience of being, me and Diamond. We're so lucky to, getting that trust and playing through mistakes and just kind of getting a feel of the WNBA. I think that was like so special. So I definitely helped, just gaining that experience in year one. And then, hopefully there's still like a long career ahead, both of us. But that was definitely a good start. I think just seeing like the W and obviously how tough it is, how versatile the whole league is. But it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun last year.
I bet it was. What was your welcome to the WNBA moment?
I would say it wasn't like really in the beginning, but I remember when we played in Phoenix and I made a move, like I made like a spin move on BG, and I remember like she was trying to like pull me back, but she kind of grabbed my like neck a little bit. And like I was pulled back my neck, and I was just like, "Wait, what happened?
What's going on here?"
So it was like I think it was a flagrant one on her, but I was just like so like unexpected. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and just like it's tough. Like I think it's every game that I played had some like welcome to like it's not like okay I got blocked, but it's like I had to guard players that I was like, oh my god, like one game it was BG, the other game it was Stewie. Like it's so many different type of post players with so much versatility, like physicality. So I think it's just overall, I think it's like every game I was like, okay, like you had to adjust, you had to learn, you had to fight around screens, fight in the post, and kind of feel that physicality.
Right.
But yeah, if I would have to say, that probably was one of like that was the moment that I was like, I was like a little rookie. Like
exactly.
I remember having just like some of like her handprints on kind of out here.
You
but
got the
obviously,
innocent look on your face. You're like,
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
No, but she was great. Like she was like, I'm so sorry. Obviously, she didn't mean it. So
exactly,
it was a good moment for like obviously talking to her. Like I always looked up to her, and just like I was like, oh okay, but thank you though. But she was great. She was very awesome.
About that, yeah, a lot of good teams, a lot of great players. Obviously, in the WNBA. Now, how about this season, Dorka? You come in after a successful season overseas in Italy. We'll get to that in a moment, but just about this year here, I mean, you finished first in the Western Conference as a second seed. Commissioner's Cup champions, Nafisa Collier's phenomenal every single game. I mean, watching that, and obviously for you, it was a different role this season, coming off the bench, but you still were very effective, helped us win a lot of games. Just talk about what have you learned most about yourself and the team here in your number 2 of your WNBA career?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big turnaround from last year, just obviously last year was kind of tough, kind of figuring out, like obviously it was good for us to have that experience as a rookie, but this year it's like we got great players, like especially, in front of me, just a lot of great players to learn from. And as you said, just I feel like this team is clicking, like everybody's having career years, like the whole starting five is on fire, and it's just such a amazing like thing to see, and like just having that chemistry, and obviously that work like shows, because where we are right now, what's the opportunity that's ahead of us. So it's definitely awesome. And, as you said, it's a different role. It's definitely an adjustment. Last year it was more like, like there's a lot of playing time. You can play through a lot of mistakes. Here it's like, all right, it's year 2. Like you got to, sharpen up a little bit. But as you said, I think just going overseas and having that like EuroLeague experience, like national team stuff, I think that really helped me as a player. I do think that I'm a different player than I was last year. I do think like I definitely grew a lot in a lot of areas, but obviously like the role is a little bit different. So I definitely had to adjust to that, and it was easy because obviously I have great teammates. They're doing an amazing job, and I embrace that. Like whatever whatever they need from me, however I can impact coming in, playing whatever minutes, like I'm gonna do it. But it's been fun. It's been definitely more challenging than last year, just kind of figuring out like, how can I help? Because they're on fire,
Exactly.
But it's been fun. Like, it's been a lot of learning. I mean, Fee's having an amazing season. It's like you have a role model in the team that, like, as a young post player that wants to be, like going into that versatile post. Like, I mean, she's the best, like, role model that you can have on the team, and just the way she's professional every single day, shows up to practice, to games, and it's like she's unguardable. So it's been really fun, and I'm super excited because I think we have a great opportunity. So looking forward to the semifinals.
Yeah, the best is yet to come.
Yes.
You said you grew a lot. Did you grow inches too during the offseason, Dorka? I felt like you came in taller than last year. Yeah.
Everybody says that. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm still growing, but definitely I thought I got a little bit stronger.
Yeah, you got a little bit beefed up.
After a rookie year, I definitely wanted to work on just getting a little bit stronger.
Exactly.
And, because I knew how physical it was last year.
Right,
and I was like, this year is even more physical. And
a lot
it's
of talented bigs in this league.
Oh, absolutely. And so versatile, so physical. So it's not easy. So I definitely had to kind of figure out like what I have to work on, and just also like the physical part is important just to get your body ready and stuff like that. But but it was definitely fun to play overseas as well, especially as a European player. Finally, after 6 years going back to Europe, playing for a national team, putting my, my country's jersey on me, like that also means so much to me, because that's really a part of my journey. As much as the WNBA, like that's just like, it goes way back, to the roots, just being Hungarian and, just playing for my country is definitely like super special.
I hope to see you guys in the next Olympics
yes,
too. Yeah, definitely.
That's the goal.
For sure.
The goal.
Well, you played overseas in Italy. How was the experience like living in Italy? Because I mean, that to me, I'm jealous about that. That's a place that I've always wanted to go to. How was that whole experience like?
It was amazing. I mean, Italy is a beautiful country. Life is so different. I don't know. It's like, obviously I've been in America for 5 years, so I was like so used to like this fast-paced life and just busy, and Italy was just so chill. Like people are like not in rush. Nobody's honking at the the roads, and so it was super peaceful. But like also obviously a different culture again. So like just and another new team that I had to get adjusted. Like kind of going back to like the European style of basketball, a little bit slower, a little bit more fundamental. So it definitely was an adjustment. And one thing is that like these past years like. Played, at so many teams. I was at Ohio State, UConn, and then, the Lynx, and then national team, and then obviously the Italian team. So I had to adjust to a lot of different coaching styles, a lot of different, teams, leagues. And so it definitely was a little bit of adjustment in the beginning, just kind of like with the rules also, like, the travels and stuff like that. It took like maybe a week or so to, I'm like, okay, you can't do that here in the WCAN. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of great competition, especially in EuroLeague. Like you go against, a lot of WNBA players, just thinking back, when we played Prague, like you just have Azzy McGregor there, and then you have, Nyara Sabali. So it's like you still getting that experience, but it's in like terms of like the European basketball. So it's super fun. I always loved FIBA basketball. We saw the Olympics, like, it's tough.
It's tough.
It's physical, and it's not always getting calls in there. So it's like that's also I think was a great preparation for here because it's also physical basketball. So I think it's it's similar but it's different. And I think having the both kind of experience is really good for a player. I think I do feel like okay, I can have a little bit of like the American style, but also like the European style, and kind of mesh it together and just learn. But I had so much fun. Like Italy was beautiful. So I'm going back this upcoming year, so hopefully we can win more and more and win the championship and everything. But it's been fun.
I love that. What was your favorite food over there in Italy?
I'm a pasta girl.
Pasta, yeah.
I'm a pasta girl.
Top tier, yeah.
Usually like our games are like at 8 or 9, so like super late because they like to sleep, have their siesta in the afternoon, so you can't even like go to restaurants during like 3-4 p.m. because it's closed, and then they reopen. And so like people eat so late there. So by the time we would be done playing, like it's like, okay, like there's a pizza spot, so we would eat pizza.
Some late night pizza. That's
but great food, like
awesome.
Italian food, amazing,
Yeah,
like top
best,
tier.
yeah.
So I was spoiled for sure.
I love that. Well, talk to us about what you like to do off the court, Dorka. So many people see you dominate here on the court, but when you're not playing basketball, what are some of your biggest hobbies and interests?
I do enjoy like being outside. So like if I can go to places, I love traveling. I love, just exploring cultures and stuff like that. So if, I'm in here during the summer, like I like to go to, the lakes, like being the more like outside work, because we're always inside, like, we go to practice for the games, like we're inside of gym. So it's like, especially in the summer, it's beautiful in Minnesota. So I like to be outside, like trying coffee shops, trying food. I love food. I love eating food. So
we're all foodies.
Yeah. So I'm super open to just kind of experience stuff. But since we have so much basketball, I do like to just take some time away from it. So like, reading books. I love reading books. I love creative stuff. So I love painting. Like this year, I got like a pottery, whatever it was, like a kit.
Like
so I was like, I'm gonna, because I've been seeing, these TikToks of people make pottery. And I've always been like into this creative stuff, like painting everything. So this year, that was my actually new thing that I was like, I was making like a little, what is it called? Like a jewelry box, like stuff like that with clay. Yeah. So, I'm...
So you don't have to spend money for birthday gifts anymore. You just make homemade crafts, right?
But it's just stuff that I like, still creative, but kind of takes your mind off of like just basketball, because obviously it's so much. We play, especially this year, it was tough. Like we had game after game. It was like, okay, like we have to relax, we have to stop. But pretty simple, not doing too much, but obviously always love the movies, go to the movies. But spending time, with teammates, friends, like as much as I can, and be outside. Like I would say that's pretty much like Dorka's off the court stuff that I do.
Hey, that's a lot of stuff you do. Probably the most descriptive answer we've gotten out of any player we've asked that question. That's really good.
Yeah, they didn't want to share it. They didn't want to share what they're doing.
They didn't want to share what they were doing. Hey,
yes,
but I appreciate that. Last question for you, Dorka, before we head to our final segment. You obviously talked about in the beginning how much your mother had an influence on you, and I know I'm sure you're thinking about the influence you're having on young girls all around, and young boys even for that matter, playing here in the WNBA, the league being at its highest peak. Just talk about what all of that support and the growth of women's basketball here in America now has meant to you now that you're in your second year of the WNBA.
Oh, it means a lot, because as you say, it's in America, but when I went over in Italy, like people are talking about it. Like I think, just people are watching the W more and more. So it's like, it's not really just about America, it's globally happening. Especially from being Hungarian, and just this past game against the Phoenix Mercury, this was the first time that in my country they were able to watch my game. So there's a big effect in my country as well. And obviously it means a lot to me. I want to be able to, all those little girls that have the same dreams as me, just looking up and say like, hey, I can watch it on the TV, like there's a Hungarian girl in there. So like there's a lot of, impact that came off from like this season, and obviously all like, the craziness and love from the fans about like the W, and like, but it's globally like affecting. And I think that's the most amazing thing, because end of the day, this was the first time that like people could watch my game, in Hungary. And maybe that's going to change that. Maybe, people are going to be able to watch it like all over the world. Like hopefully like especially like now the playoffs, semifinals and finals, like it's going to be streamed. Like I think that's what we want. I think we want like other people in the world that they can watch it, they can love it, but they also can put themselves into like our shoes and be like, okay, I can be that player, because honestly, when I was growing up, like I wasn't sure if that's possible for me. Like I had this crazy dream as I, just think about it, but I was like, how am I going to do that? Like, how is that possible? Like if I would have, not have the opportunity to go to college, like maybe I was not going to be here, because it's pretty tough. Let's be honest. So I think just having this exposure, that's affecting women's basketball here, and like so positively, a lot of people, like we saw that all the arenas being sold, like even now in the playoffs, like there's so many people, like passionate people coming to our games. And I think that's huge for women's basketball. And I hope it keeps growing and everywhere, in the world, not just in America.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. It's a very well-spoken, well-said answer there, Dorka. All right, well, final segment. We do rapid fire with all of our guests. Okay. Are you good with rapid fire? You have a good history with it, or what are we thinking? We'll try. All right.
Let's see.
Here we go. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
What is that called?
Teleportation?
Teleporting, yes.
Yeah.
So I can go home, see my family, just being far away.
Love it. What's one food you can't live without?
I would say chicken. I used to
like a specific kind, like chicken
no,
wings?
It's just like, I would say just chicken.
Just chicken, yeah. Give me chicken on the plate, I'll eat it.
I eat so much chicken, so it's it's hard.
There you go. What's your favorite sports movie of all time?
Probably Coach Carter.
Coach Carter's a classic. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Probably if somebody's like they're
chewing
eating
really loudly.
yes.
Yeah, so chewing that chicken really
or
loudly.
Like they're eating
like
and then I'm.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't do that.
There you go. If you weren't playing basketball, what career do you think you'd be doing right now?
I would probably still be an athlete. I really loved handball. I don't know.
Handball is so much fun.
It's not as popular in America, but in
Europe,
actually
growing up, like in middle school, we would play it in
you
gym
do
class.
play?
Yeah,
yeah,
they
it's
introduced
physical.
it. Yeah.
Like
it's a combination. Like
so I think I would do that or volleyball probably.
Okay. Yeah, but you would be really good at volleyball. Obviously, yeah, exactly. Next question for you: if you had to compete in a talent show, and to get up on stage and do a talent in front of everybody, what talent would you be doing?
Probably singing.
Singing. What genre?
Probably like something like love songs, like I don't know, like maybe like R&B, but or like a little bit of pop.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Don't make me sing though.
I'm not gonna make you sing. Trust me, that was not the next question.
Okay.
Next question is just what is your favorite American food or favorite American hobby? Something that you weren't able to do until you got here.
I was never really into steaks, but I came over here to America. Like at home, I never ate steaks, and then and now I'm like such a steak person. Like if we go to a nice restaurant, like give me a steak, give me a ribeye or something. That's definitely, or like just chicken wings. Like I could always eat some chicken wings.
Okay, yeah, there we go. If you had to describe the Lynx fans using just one word, what word would it be?
Probably powerful.
Love that. If you had the choice to either star in your own movie or own TV series, which one are you picking?
Probably TV series.
Why?
I just feel like a movie is so hard to put together. I feel like I was just, just entertain people. Just kind of make it like there's a series about, I don't even know about what, something funny. Something like a comedy series.
Okay.
So if people like it, then I can go to season 2.
There you go, right? Yeah.
The movie is like, it's either like gonna be a big thing or it's not. So it's like the series, you can have a little bit more.
There's
like,
continuation, more people will talk about it. Yeah, for sure. And last question for you, Dorka. Just what's one fun fact a lot of people don't know about you?
Fun fact. These are always hard. I don't know what's a fun fact. I don't know. I don't know what's a fun fact. I think it's just kind of like learn. I definitely I would say I don't fluently speak, but I've learned German, French, I speak English and Hungarian. So I would say the languages, but
that's impressive. Yeah,
now I'm learning Italian actually.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna come back to this.
5 on that, right? Okay.
I'm trying to learn as many languages as I can. So
I love that.
That's the goal.
All right, Dorka. Well, we really appreciate you for coming on. This was wonderful stuff, as we all anticipated to be. You're always great at telling all these stories. So congratulations on all the success you've had so far in your WNBA career. I know the Lynx fans love seeing you play. We can't wait to see what you do. So thank you again for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, there you have it, folks. That was today's episode of Lynx Unleashed with Dorka Juhász.